Welcome. I'm Stephanie Peterson. I'm the Senior Director of CISO GRC, which stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance, and it's within the Office of the CISO. I'm here today to talk to you about our risk management program, and I'm excited to share how we do our governance and our process for risk management. I want to start with talking through our approach, and you can think of it as a pyramid and us working across this pyramid, where at the bottom of the pyramid, we have the foundational elements. That's where we have threats being found, risks, operational work occurring throughout the day. And at the top of the pyramid, we have the board of directors, and that is where we have executive dispositioning and executive report outs. Throughout the pyramid, risks occur in domain areas, business teams, systems. There's external considerations and many factors that have to be considered. Risk can and should be identified and communicated both up and down the organization. Our approach for risk management is built on a foundation of both governance and process. Within governance, we have comprehensive security standards that provide risk management expectations. These standards are published and reviewed annually, outlining expectations for risk entry, scoring, and mitigation planning. We also have strong executive governance via the Cybersecurity Governance Council, which is made up of our CISO and deputy CISOs, covering each horizontal and vertical function across the company, as well as a leader within CILA's Cybersecurity Regulatory Affairs organization. The last part of our governance program is our enterprise risk management program. And this is where we assess our risk across the enterprise and roll up our risk to the board for disposition and feedback and strategic decision making. On the process side of our risk management program, our process includes a centralized risk register that captures every type and level of risk, captures threats and diverse sources of actions across the company. There is a storing connection between the risk register and Secure Future initiative. SFI is a cornerstone program, and it specifically targets the most significant and critical risks that we prioritize within the company. Our mechanisms for risk management are supported as well by other activities. We do an annual NIST CSF self-assessment. We work closely with internal audit on their risk-based approach. We have strong partnerships throughout defense ops and many other ways of navigating risk. Microsoft's risk management lifecycle is organized around 4 core stages that align with industry expectations. Risk identification. Risks are surfaced through a variety of channels, including threat intelligence, penetration testing, post-incident reviews, reports from security researchers, self-assessment exercises, and general findings from leadership or operational teams. This is where we most leverage our risk register to capture all of the identified risks. In risk assessment, once risks are recorded, they get assessed and they get operationalized. This involves analyzing the context, the impact, the likelihood, and looking at the root causes for mitigation. This is also where we'll look at signals and intelligence from internal and external sources, further informing our risk rating. The third step is risk mitigation and remediation. For each mitigation and remediation strategies are developed. This can include implementing new controls, adjusting existing processes, deploying new technology, or approaching our product development differently. Owners are assigned to each mitigation plan, and progress is tracked through the workflow. Validation steps confirm that the mitigations are effective and that the risk has been sufficiently addressed. The fourth part is prevention and monitoring. And in this part of the life cycle, it comes after remediation, and this is where ongoing prevention and monitoring activities ensure that risks remain at acceptable levels. This includes regression prevention to avoid recurrence of past issues, and regular updates to security standards and controls, and monitoring. This is where you'll find our assurance systems that are developed and executed to provide independent verification. And this is also where we have our insights for monitoring feedback into the risk identification process, which creates the continuous improvement loop we use to manage risk across this life cycle. Now let's walk through how Microsoft Cybersecurity Risk Management works in practice. On the left side, you'll notice that a wide range of teams contribute to our risk register, from research and vulnerability to red teams, incident response, and threat analysis. We also leverage external intelligence, security assessments, exceptions, and other ways to package up all of the inputs that come into the risk register. Risks are then entered into the risk register, where they undergo continuous reviews. After that, the next step is focused deputy CISO discussions. Each deputy CISO has a curator and a team responsible for reviewing every risk within their relevant domain. The collective efforts feed into the framework of the Secure Future Initiative to help us identify and plan the next waves of strategic action. It's important to note, though, that not every risk remediation flows through SFI. Risks can and are very often assessed through other channels and mitigated continuously. After mitigation actions are implemented, this is where we continuously validate their effectiveness. And this is where it includes updating standards and controls, applications, and also double-checking our work so that it remains consistent. And then also, if a team cannot meet the requirement of SFI or of their mitigation plan, a formal security exception goes through a process where the deputy CISOs review and disposition. This life cycle ensures our risk management is dynamic, proactive, and we all stay highly accountable. Moving from the operational risk management, let's talk about how we formally roll up and communicate these efforts to our executive leadership and the audit committee. Here, you see that while many of the same teams, risk owners, DCISO squads, curators, the CISO GRC function, and the deputy CISOs themselves are involved in packaging our collection of cybersecurity risk intelligence and insights into the company's enterprise risk management program. Microsoft performs a semi-annual enterprise risk management report, and that's a critical component of our cybersecurity risk management program. It represents the highest priority risks across the company. My team, CISO GRC, leads the process, synthesizing inputs from across the organization and ensuring our risk posture is accurately portrayed. The risk register is our central tool for tracking and managing risk. The risk register process is built to meet industry expectations, such as those found in ISO and NIST certifications, and is also reviewed with new regulatory regulations, most recently DORA and NIST 2 guidelines. The risk register is supported by a set of personas. The first role is the submitter. Microsoft encourages not restricting entries for this role. Everyone with the appropriate remit who identifies a risk can submit it into the risk register. The responsibility they have is to provide a clear, detailed description with supporting information so the risk can be assessed properly. The other role is curators. Curators are domain experts with risk management training who review submitted risks. They prioritize them and ensure they're assigned to the correct deputy CISOs. Once created and tracked, risks are assigned to the next role, which is risk owners. The risk owner is accountable for implementing the mitigations within their scope. They own the risk until it's resolved, deprioritized, archived, and what they do is ensure the follow-through beyond just identification. Lastly, and also critical to our ecosystem, are the risk reviewers. These are stakeholders like auditors or senior leaders who need visibility into risk data for how they do their compliance and oversight. They typically access this information through reports rather than the tool itself. Each stage in the risk register process has clear roles, timing, and actions to ensure accountability. The process starts at the submission of the risk, which can happen anytime and should include clear details and supporting information so the risk can be assessed properly. The next stage is triage and curate, and this is where the curator steps in. Within a set SLA, they triage the new risk, and another set SLA is allocated for curation. Curators review, prioritize, and assign the risk to the correct deputy CISOs. That ensures that the ownership and alignment for tracking remediation. Once curated, prioritization happens in the response stage. Curators determine if the risk is ready for response and stack rank it against other risks. This ensures the most critical risks get attention first. After prioritization, risks move to the confirm stage, where there's a quarterly review of prioritized risks, and approved lists are then shared with leadership teams for visibility and alignment. These lists feed into the inform stage, where risk details are shared with downstream teams as needed. Mitigation owners generate and execute mitigation plans based on the deputy CISO prioritization. This is where the real action happens to reduce residual risk. Finally, we move to archive. When mitigations are complete and the risk is within appetite, the risk can be archived. This closes the loop and ensures historical tracking for audits and compliance purposes. The lifecycle ensures that risks are not just logged, but actively managed from identification to resolution, and it creates a structured and transparent process for the company. The Cybersecurity Risk Management Program is ultimately managed by the Cybersecurity Governance Council. The deputy CISOs are accountable for the risk within their remit, and collectively, along with the CISO, they're accountable for risk across the company. The CISO is accountable for elevating risk to the board and the partnership with enterprise risk management for Microsoft's holistic risk management approaches. There's regular rhythms for risk disposition and prioritization. The CISO meets quarterly with the board of directors. The Cybersecurity Governance Council meets twice weekly, which is a critical venue for elevating risk, addressing risk immediately, and also checking in on long-term mitigation plans. Each deputy CISO takes accountability for having a regular cadence to form their top risks. So when they come together, they can identify the shared top cybersecurity risks and prioritize those for mitigation. After that, many high priority risks are prioritized directly within SFI, and that's used to create clear action plans for integrating into that program and ensuring risk is mitigated through SFI. In parallel, the Office of the CISO, via the CISO GRC function that I manage, has a regular reporting cadence with the company's enterprise risk management function. And of course, as mentioned earlier, there are regular security exception review meetings that address risks that are exceptions to our security standards. There's several things I want to leave you with. Microsoft's a large company with many divisions, products, tools, systems, and although that complexity exists, we've created mechanisms and approaches to enable consistent standards and cross-company risk management. We foster a culture that celebrates risk identification. We want people to speak up and raise concerns early. The risk register connects operational risk to executive oversight, allowing even the smallest risks to be evaluated and addressed. Lastly, while we didn't dive into it today, our risk program is tightly integrated with our control ecosystem, including exceptions governance, our secure development lifecycle, many of our security health KPIs, and of course, SFI. I hope with this information, you better understand Microsoft's cybersecurity risk management approach, as well as find ways for its applicability into your own risk ecosystems. Thank you.